Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. As you can see by the title of this video, I'm just giving you an update on what is next for me in my fertility and IVF journey. If you're new here, just to kind of recap everything I've done, it was a egg retrieval last March just to freeze eggs for the future. And then I did 3 IUIs, which were unsuccessful, unfortunately. And then in October, I jumped into another egg retrieval to create embryos. So I still have the 7 eggs frozen, and then I created embryos in October. Out of that retrieval, I was very lucky and was able to get 6 euploid embryos that are all PGTA tested. I have 3 that are graded 5AB and 3 that are graded 5BA. And so life happened. I was in a relationship. I had some big changes at work and just life stuff happened. So I put everything on pause. And then in June, I pressed go on my first frozen embryo transfer. I did a modified natural cycle with that transfer. So I used letrozole for 5 days, used a trigger shot and progesterone suppositories during that cycle. Everything went really well. I was able to build a 9.5 millimeter lining, a 20 millimeter follicle, and everything just seemed to go really well. Feeling very discouraged, not seeing a pregnancy test or a positive pregnancy test up until day 7. And then day 8, I saw a faint line as I was on a single moms by choice retreat in Mexico, which was really nice and definitely a roller coaster of emotions. Faint line on day 8. It was lighter on day 9, darker on day 10. And then my beta ultimately came back that the transfer was unsuccessful. So this past week, I've really been spending some time just reflecting and sitting in my feelings of processing that not being successful and trying to figure out what's next. When I spoke with my doctor after the negative beta, she was very adamant about trying a medicated cycle next. Once I told her about the faint lines that I saw in Mexico, she was more open to a modified natural cycle again, but adding in baby aspirin. It's been such a roller coaster with the egg retrieval's not going great at the beginning, the 3 failed IUIs. Finally feeling ready, like I just want to be pregnant at this point and I want this to work and have this roller coaster be over. And so I'm torn between doing it the natural way, which I feel most comfortable with, just based on knowing my body's trying to do everything correct. It's just not implanting. And then also just ready for it to work and trying to take any advice that I can get. So took some time to process doing another modified natural cycle, adding in baby aspirin, and then also jumping into a medicated cycle. She wants to be very aggressive with the medicated cycle using del-estrogen, which is an intramuscular estrogen injection every 3 days, and then progesterone and oil intramuscular injections as well. So I don't love needles. I never did. Obviously, this process has gotten me over that fear quite a bit, but most of the shots I've done have been sub-Q, so much easier in your stomach, not gigantic needles in your butt. I had my neighbor help me with a trigger shot for my egg retrieval that was intramuscular, and then I did one myself, but the one I did myself was at midnight, and honestly, I was half asleep and didn't really have time to like process and get the anticipation up. So I don't love the medicated cycle, but I also keep going back to what if it doesn't work? And I know that's a terrible mindset to be in, so before y'all come at me in the comments, I am hopeful that this next cycle will be my cycle, but I also have learned in this process that I need to protect my heart and also be cautiously optimistic, we'll say. And at the end of the day, how do I want to feel if it's unsuccessful? We all know how I'm going to feel if it is successful. I'm going to be ecstatic. And if a modified natural cycle works, I'm going to be like, haha, I know best. And what do these doctors know, right? But if it doesn't work, I know myself and I know that I'm going to regret going that decision and I'm going to be kicking myself for not taking the doctor's advice. And if I go a medicated cycle, while the shots give me a lot of anxiety, I keep telling myself I can do hard things. And It's just a small period of time to ultimately have my baby here. And if for some reason I do a medicated cycle and it's not successful, my doctor will be more likely to do a lot more testing to figure out what is going wrong. She made a comment to me and talking with her that really until I have 2 failed transfers with euploid embryos, they don't typically do an ERA or any additional blood work at that point. But after 2, especially if one is medicated, they will do a lot more testing. So at the end of the day, if I do a medicated cycle, I get one of 2 things. I'm either pregnant, and that's great, or 2, I am one step closer to getting my embryo or getting my answers and not wasting embryos just trying to play doctor myself. So that's really what's pushed me. And I know everyone has an opinion. And I think the hardest part with all of this IVF and fertility stuff is everyone's body is different. And I don't really feel like there's any rhyme or reason to any of it. I feel a little bit like a lab rat, like it's just a guess every time we go in for a cycle, which is frustrating because so many people are going through fertility struggles and so many people I know have gone through IVF. And honestly, no 2 cycles have ever looked the same for my friends that have gone through IVF or talking to some of you that have reached out. Everyone's cycle is different, and what works for someone is different for every single person. And so there's just really no way of knowing. And while in a perfect world, I'd love to do another modified natural cycle, I don't want that feeling of regret, and I don't want to waste any more embryos until I get some answers. And so I'm just going to have hope that this next cycle is going to work. I did order my meds for a medicated cycle. I will be also adding baby aspirin. I took this month off and this cycle off because we are doing 2 weeks of doxycycline, an antibiotic, just to clear out any potential infection or bacteria that's in my uterus that we're not aware of. So I feel like I'm taking all of the necessary steps in order to help make this cycle more successful. So again, taking a cycle off, 2 weeks of antibiotics. I will start my period roughly around July 28th. I will do a medicated cycle with del estrogen, so injectable estrogen, as well as progesterone and oil. I'm also adding in baby aspirin. I am making it a priority over the next month and a half to do acupuncture every single week, and I'll go a little bit more around my transfer time just to help with stress and blood flow and all of those things. It can't hurt at this point. So taking those steps to really hopefully make this next cycle the one. And if it's not, we'll do some additional testing and figure out where we go from here. But I'm going to cross my fingers and have faith and try not to play doctor and trust that they know what they're doing, and fingers crossed that I'll have baby here soon. So thank you so much for watching and following me along. There may be a little bit of a gap until I start my next cycle for what is next, but thank you for all of your kind words and support. You know, the beta video and the pregnancy test videos, everyone had such kind things to say, and I just am so grateful for all of your support. If you haven't done so already, click the link below. I will be sharing and documenting every part of this journey and would love to connect with you all as well. So thanks again and have a great week.